competition economically of a different kind from nations like China. We face some real challenges, but I have to tell you, good things are going to happen in America. I'm optimistic about our future. I understand what it takes to get this country going again. You see, I actually have a plan for getting America back, for strengthening our foundation. And my plan creates some 12 million jobs, and that, by the way, creates more take-home pay, which people badly need. I mean, you know what it's been like. I go across the country. I just had a telephone call with a lot of people in Nevada. We were talking about challenges there, and their home values are down, and people were having a hard time making ends meet. The median income in America has dropped by over $4,000 over the last 4 years. So today, people are earning $4,300 less per year than they earned 4 years ago. At the same time, the costs of things like gasoline have gone up $2,000 a family. Health insurance premiums up $2,500 a family. We have food prices are up, electricity rates are up. These are tough times for the people of America. So my plan to create 12 million jobs is needed and needed now. And it has 5 parts. I want to tell you what they are. Number 1, we're going to take full advantage of our energy, our oil, our coal, our gas. Sector, but in places that use energy. Manufacturing, for instance, uses a lot of energy in many cases. And by having low-cost energy, and we have it and will continue to have it if we take full advantage of these resources, you're going to see manufacturing come back to this country. It's already beginning in the area where they use natural gas. This is big for our country. That's number 1. Number 2, it's a very helpful thing if a nation has the most productivity in the world, and we do. By the way, I used to hear the word productivity, and I wondered what that meant. What they do is they look at everything that a country makes, everything they manufacture, all the services they sell, they add it all up, and divide it by the number of people in the workforce. That's output per person. And we are the most productive major nation in the world. And because we're so productive, trade helps us. As we open up doors for trade, we can sell goods and services to other places in the world. It makes us better off. And I want to open up trade for America, particularly more trade in Latin America, where the language and the proximity gives us a real advantage. I want to make sure, however, the people who we trade with follow the rules. China hasn't always followed the rules. I'll stop them if they take away jobs through unfair trade practices. The skills they need for the jobs of today, and that our schools are giving our kids the skills they need for the jobs of tomorrow. Now, your governor here knows something about that. He's a national leader, probably the national leader in education. He did some things I've copied in my plan for the nation. Number 1, he makes sure that schools are evaluated in a transparent way so that you know how well a school is doing. They get graded here in Florida, A through F. And number 2, if a school's not succeeding, he makes sure that the kids and their parents are able to send their child to a school that is of their choice. So I'm going to take federal dollars, and instead of giving them to the schools, I'm going to have them follow the student so parents can choose the school. To a lot of people like it has a lot to do with jobs, but it does. Let me tell you why. It relates to debt and deficits. And that is, if you're an entrepreneur thinking of risking your life savings to start a business, or if you're some big international corporation and you're thinking about where you're going to build a new factory, if you think America is on the road to Greece or Italy or Spain, you're less likely to invest in America. And right now, we keep spending about $1 trillion more than we take in every year. It's bad for jobs. It's bad for the economy. I think it's immoral for us to pass on debts like that to our kids. And I would get America. do that. Let me mention just a couple. One relates to our taxes, and that is this. Do you realize that the taxes paid by a small business in America can be as high as 35%? That's the income tax. And then if you add other taxes, the payroll tax, the state income tax, if your state has a state income tax, real estate tax, sales tax, why you can find small businesses spending as much as 50% of what they earn on government, on taxes. And as a result of that, you got a lot of people saying, why would I go out and start a business if I'm lucky enough to have it successful? The government's going to take half of what I make back. And so, by the way, some other nations have figured this out. Canada's lowered their corporate tax rate to 15%. Ours is 35%. They've lowered it to 15%. Why? Not because they want less money. They know that if they have businesses grow and thrive there, more people will work, they'll get better jobs, higher incomes, and they'll get more money. Another thing I want to do is make sure that we understand how to make regulations work for small business. By the way, sometimes people in our party say we want to deregulate, and that's kind of an overstatement. We want to get rid of excessive regulation and outmoded regulation, but we know you have to have some regulation to make an economy work and for people to be able to play by rules. But sometimes regulators seem to look at businesses like they're the enemy. And I have small business people tell me from time to time, I feel like government is battling me. I like business. I like small business. I want to make sure our regulations help small business grow. Make it easier for us. Now, by the way, to get those things done, to create those 12 million jobs, to get us on track to a balanced budget, I mean, those are words I offer pretty easily, but you know, that's going to take some real work. People have been talking about this for decades. To get that done is going to require something in Washington that's spoken about but not done. And it's something I have to do. I've got to be able to reach across the aisle and get good Democrats and good Republicans to work together. Good Democrats love America just like good Republicans love America. I happen to be elected in a state that has a few Democrats, Massachusetts. My legislature was about 85% Democrat. And it was not lost on me that to get anything done at all, and even to have my veto upheld, I had to have people across the aisle I could work with. And when I came into office, we had a multi-billion-dollar budget gap. And instead of having a battle between myself and the legislative leadership, we actually sat down every week, got to know each other. Every week we met at one or the other of our offices. We talked about the challenges we faced. We looked for common ground. We often had different points of view and couldn't come together, but sometimes we found common ground. We found ways, for instance, to not just to slow down the rate of the growth of government in our state, we actually cut spending in our state. And then I did something else with the legislature. We cut taxes 19 times, made our state more business friendly. And by the end of 4 years, instead of a $3 billion budget gap, we had a $2 billion rainy day fund. It could happen. It's got to happen. I'm convinced that the future is brighter than the past. I don't believe our kids are going to have tougher times than we did. I believe that they're going to have brighter times with good job opportunities. I believe kids coming out of college are going to find work again. I believe someone in their 40s and 50s ought to have those as their best earning years with a chance to put a little money away. I think our seniors ought to be confident that their retirement is secure, that their health care is secure. These things can happen again and will. They will happen again. And I'm convinced of that because I've seen the heart of the American people over my lifetime. We're hard-working people. We're entrepreneurial. We're innovative. We're optimistic. I also see in the heart of the American people a greatness and a willingness to live for something bigger than ourselves. I was a leader in the Boy Scouts of America some years ago. And I was at a court of honor. That's where the Boy Scouts get their Eagle Scout awards or other awards. boards, and there was a Formica table at the front of the room, and I was seated at the end of the table next to the American flag. The person who was speaking was the scoutmaster from Monument, Colorado, and he said that the boys and his troops wanted to have a very special flag, so they bought one, had gold tassels on the outside. They sent it to be flown above the Capitol, and it was. Then when it came home, the boys said, let's have it go on the space shuttle. That'll make it even more special. Scoutmaster said, okay. They contacted NASA. NASA agreed. He said the boys were so proud as they looked from their home rooms at school and watched the shuttle Challenger go up in the sky, and then they saw it explode before their eyes. Scoutmaster said he called NASA a couple of weeks later and said, have you found any remnant of our flag? And they had not. He said he called every week after week, month after month, and still nothing. And then one day he was reading an article in the paper about some of the debris that had been found from the Challenger disaster. And in that article, there was a list or a mention of a flag. So he called NASA and said, have you found something you could give to us? And they said, in fact, we'd like to make a presentation to your boys. So NASA came together with the Boy Scout troop of Monument, Colorado, and they presented the boys with a plastic container. And he said, we opened it up, and there was our flag in perfect condition. He said, that's the flag on the flagpole here next to Mr. Romney. And I reached over and grabbed the flag and pulled it out, and it was as if electricity was running through my arm. Because I thought about the people whose lives had been lost in that tragedy. And I thought about the fact that they had walked in danger's way for learning, for knowledge, for pioneering, for something bigger than themselves, for us. I think of our men and women in uniform and their willingness to walk in harm's way for us. In that hymn, we talk about the rocks and rills and templed hills, and purple mountains' majesty, and all of the great physical characteristics of our land. But there's a verse that touches me more deeply where it says, "Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country love, and mercy more than life." Would our veterans and members of the armed forces please raise your hands so we can recognize you? Yeah. Some do that in extraordinary ways, in visible ways. Others do it in ways that are meaningful in their own lives and in their families' lives. My sister is a hero to me. They say that you don't have to be larger than life to be a hero, just larger than yourself. My sister Lynn has 8 children. 7 of them are married with children of their own. The 8th child was born Down syndrome. Lynn is now in her 70s. And Jeffrey, the Down syndrome child, is 43, not child, Down syndrome man now, 43 years old. And Lynn has devoted her life over these last several years since her husband has been passed away, and the years before, to caring for Jeffrey and to make sure he has as full and abundant life as possible. She's a hero to me, as are so many moms and dads. Think of all the single moms across the country in tough economic times, like right there, and who are scrimping and saving in many cases to be able to put a good meal on the table at the end of the day for their children. Think of the dads and moms who may be working one night shift and one day shift and hardly get any time together, but are doing it so that they'll be able to buy their kids the clothes that other kids at school have so they won't stand out. Think of all the moms and dads who this Christmas have agreed they're not going to exchange gifts with each other because they want to have a better Christmas for their kids. This is who we are as a people. We're very generous. people given to things bigger than ourselves. This is a time when the people of America are going to come together. I'm convinced that November 7th will be a time that we have leadership that will bring us together once again. I saw a TV show some years ago with a fictional football team in the TV show. It's called Friday Night Lights. You may have seen it. And in the show, the football team would leave the locker room, typically facing long odds from a team that was ranked higher than they. And they'd leave the locker room, and there was a sign above the door that said, "Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose." I'm confident that the people of Florida have very clear eyes. You understand what's at stake in this election.